All right, welcome back, folks, to our 18th episode of the Arizona Craft Beer Reviews. Here, leading up to our Arizona Craft Beer Awards and Festival in October. I'm very excited because today we are tasting, and not for the first time, my favorite IPA that is brewed here in Arizona, and that's the Tower Station IPA from Mother Road Brewing in Flagstaff. This is a iconic beer in Arizona. If you've been drinking Arizona beer for any amount of time, you've heard of Tower Station. You've probably had Tower Station. Just iconic.
Yeah, it's well distributed. I was kind of surprised to know that first came out in 2015. So it seems like maybe that it's a beer that's been around longer than what you think. But 2015 was only 7 years ago. But it's already grown. That's
about right when the beer community really started to explode. So.
Yeah, and it was actually came out. So 2015 was Tower Station. Mother Road opened up in Flagstaff in 2011. So it took them 4 years to come up with one of, I would say, probably their most popular beer, and one of, if not, like you mentioned, the most popular beer in Arizona.
Most popular IPA for sure. Most popular IPA for sure. As someone who doesn't drink a lot of IPAs, I tend to lean more towards hazies. I like a good hazy IPA. This is not a hazy IPA.
No.
It is a little hazy, but that's because it's unfiltered.
Yeah, unfiltered.
So it's not.
Sure.
It's not. A New England style in that sense. But it's a super balanced beer. I think it's because they use Pilsner malts and pale ale malts, and that I think that maltiness sort of balances out the hops and makes it just a very drinkable beer that doesn't taste too bitter. Obviously, if you're not into IPAs, any IPA might be too bitter for you. But this one, for more well-rounded drinkers, I think is a really accessible, really, it's a good gateway IPA for people who aren't really into it, but aren't repulsed by it either.
They're not like people like me that has 800 check-ins on Untapped. I've had this beer, and I was actually a little surprised. It took me up until last month actually to check in on Untapped a Tower Station, and I felt a little embarrassed. Like I should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's one that you kind of have grown up with, if you will, over the last 7 years, and I've had tons of them. I've just never decided to check in.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
it's it's the same reason why I've never logged a Scottsdale Blonde on Untapped, because you just drink them so often that it doesn't seem like the kind of beer that you would think of logging.
Yeah,
but this is a beer that according to this information that you put together, 52,000 check-ins on Untapped.
Yeah,
I mean, like people drink this a lot.
That's why when I see kind of like if somebody throws out like a informal Twitter poll, or if you see some sort of, I think this is one of our most voted on beers on Best of the Valley last month. People will say over and over, it's Tower Station. Tower Station is their favorite. They'll post about it. I see a lot of people post about it, and obviously it makes sense because they distribute a lot. Yep. They're Mother Road is now the third biggest independent craft brewer in all of Arizona.
Is that right?
They're behind Santan and Huss.
No kidding.
In terms of the number of, because they opened up they have that classic downtown Flagstaff location where they were doing, I don't know, I think the numbers were just under 5,000 barrels a year or something. Then they opened up this Butler, what they call their Butler brewery, and they expanded that greatly over the last couple of years. Now it's like it's 27,000 barrels there.
Wow.
So they are doing a lot of beer out of that fairly recent. I think in the last, it opened up maybe in 2018, 2017, something like that. And then they expanded it just last year or the 2 years ago. And so they do a lot of stuff. And I was up there in February visiting with the owner, Michael Marquez, bona fide celebrity there. I'm sitting there doing an interview with him on our Instagram live channel, and there are people lining up behind me, taking pictures of him, and just waiting until we're done to go get their pictures taken with him. It's funny, like it's never happened. Like you can go, I asked Matt Brown about that, the guy who does who owns Tombstone Brewing. I'm like, are you a hero to people? He's like, I don't think so. But
that's wild.
You can see, like, Michael Marquez from Mother Road is a bona fide hero to all these
so
people.
Funny.
They're going up, they're taking pictures with him. They're like congratulating him. They're thanking him for everything he does. Really cool scene there. I don't know if have you been up to that Mother Road location?
I've been to both. The Butler one is definitely massive compared to the one in downtown. The one in downtown is just like a little bar inside of like on a side room of like the brewery.
Really cool bar though on the inside. Cool
little tap room for sure. But
a big patio out there for summertime. I went the winter and it obviously wasn't being used, but.
Yeah, no, but Mother Road is definitely one of those, like, you talk about Scottsdale. You talk about Flagstaff beers, and usually Mother Road is at the top of people's minds. Mm-hmm. And they got a kind of a fun story. Mother Road is a reference to Route 66.
Yep. John Steinbeck called Route 66 the Mother Road in Grapes of Wrath because of the route that took people from kind of the middle of the country out west seeking a better life. Yep. So that's what Mother Road comes from. And
Route 66 obviously cutting straight through Flagstaff. So so it's kind of a fun story. And then this beer it just feels or tastes like the kind of beer that you would want to have when you're stopping along this long trek down the Mother Road. So it's
they do a lot of cool kind of old school car themed kind of deals. So
like
Route
50s,
66 popular in the 1930s. This Daily Driver Session IPA is kind of proves that. It got the car on the can art. Tower Road has the same thing, kind of an old car driving down, looking for this Tower Station.
That's
guess a gas station there.
The description of the beer. If you let me see the camera, it's kind of a fun one. Yeah, I always get excited about the when they have well-written sort of descriptions for these beers. Clearly somebody who has some writing chops sat down and like composed this because it's not just like a flat description. So, parched motorists on Route 66 anticipated hospitality at Tower Station. Opened in 1936, you could still visit this Shamrock, Texas landmark today. This unfiltered India Pale Ale greets you with a copper orange hue and fluffy white head, releasing aromas of tangerine and pineapple, Pilsner and pale malts, balanced hop-derived flavors of grapefruit peel and pine to finish the journey.
Yeah.
So I love that. Just a solid, iconic Arizona beer.
A lot of fruit description in that, which I get on the flavor, and a lot of
very
pine
citrusy.
too. I like those that balance and maybe go a little bit more pine than fruit, and that's kind of my favorite. And this is kind of the color that you want to look for in it, when you're looking for like a piney IPA. So
sure.
Nicely done, Mother Road. No wonder they brew so many beers and people love them so much. I love a good Tower Station or some of their other favorites. Limited Visibility, their hazy IPA, actually won our celeb taste test in last year's Best of the Valley. We had Chef Lee Hilson from one of the resorts. I think he's at. Honestly, I can't remember what resort he's at now. Sorry about that, Lee. But famous chef here at one of the resorts came in and did 8 blind tastings of 8 hazy IPAs, and he landed on Mother Road's Limited Visibility as his favorite. Beat out a Tombstone beer, which there were 2 really, really distinct profiles on those.
The other one that Mother Road does really well that not a lot of people do is the black IPA.
Yeah, Lost Highway.
So black IPAs, similar to Schwartz beers or black lagers or a lot of these different beers that typically come in a much more golden color, sort of, you're used to, but they roast all the malts before they, take them through the mashing and all that process. And so that roasting ends up giving them a dark black color, sort of like you would see in a stout or a porter. And but you still get all the same flavor profiles as your IPAs or your lagers, whatever it is you're drinking, except you get that added sort of roasted element to it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. If you've never had have you ever had a Schwartz beer?
I've had plenty of that one.
Or black lagers.
I've had plenty of that Lost Highway, which now is discontinued. Did you know that?
Is it? That's too bad.
They discontinued it, but they got so much kind of blowback from that announcement, they decided that it'll be a seasonal.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's a lot more that goes into making one of those because you got to roast everything first. But yeah, they're good. I used to work at a tap room. We had the Button Brewing Schwartz beer, black lager on tap. And people would come in, people that aren't super into craft beer, and they would ask me like, oh, I usually drink like a Bud Light or a Budweiser, or a Coors or whatever. What do you suggest? And I would always tell them, like, when we have this beer on tap, but I would say, I'm going to bring you a taster of something.
Yeah.
And I want you to ignore what it looks like, and I just want you to taste it with an open mind.
There you go.
So they'd be like, okay, cool. And so I'd bring them a little taster of this black lager. It looks like a stout. And they'd be like, okay, they're all skeptical. They taste it, they loved it. Because it's the same kind of beer, it just has that added roasted element, and it's super good. So, props to Mother Road for bringing it back.
Yeah, the black
Even if it's
IPA.
seasonally.
There's another good one at Oro Brewing. If you
yeah?
haven't had it, it's called All or Nothing. That's another great black IPA. Not a lot of people do it.
It's
style.
Yeah. Same with Schwartz beer. They're a rare style, but they're always good.
So Mother Road also, when I talked to them in February, they had just won a Green Business Award from the Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce.
Nice.
They were very proud of that. They have that displayed there in the tap room. And
is that for like a sustainability sort of thing? Cool.
Yeah. So very
would expect nothing less from a Flagstaff company.
Right. Very cognizant about what they do environmentally and everything, and that preserving water, Arizona wilderness. They tout that a lot in the beer that they make. So. Good work there, and they were very, very proud of that.
There's a juxtaposition between people who are, a sort of a meeting crossroads, so to speak, between people who are very eco-friendly, eco-conscious, and beer drinkers.
Yeah.
So
they're also behind there's a beer school program at NAU.
Is there really?
Mother Road is behind that, and they're training people how to brew beer.
The next generation of brewers.
Yeah.
Brewers. I love that.
Wouldn't that be a fun class to take in college?
If that was something that had been available to me in college, I probably would not have gotten the major that I did. I probably would have just majored in brewing. Yeah.
So they're putting a lot of work in and around the NAU campus up there in Flagstaff. Potentially, I don't know, potentially maybe a third location in that area.
Oh,
just
so you got to open a location down here.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Expand kind of the work that they do and maybe do some more experimental type stuff. Also to kind of revitalize, there's some dumpy, rundown places kind of across from the campus that not quite as you get into downtown where it's
right
all
before.
Old, so they're kind of working to revitalize some of those areas, not all of it. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff right in that area, but they're working to kind of revitalize some of those areas.
You know what I've noticed? I just realized this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't a single Flagstaff-based brewery that has opened a location like south of Cottonwood.
Down here in the valley?
Yeah.
No, there was
I know, like,
Historic
has a Cottonwood, or
Historic's out of Williams and a couple locations in Flag.
Yep.
Dark Sky just has the one in Flag, and
Mother Road has the two in
their
Flag.
Patio. Wanderlust is up there. Grand Canyon, obviously you can get Grand Canyon in cans all over the state.
Sure.
And they're now up in Page, and they're also in Williams where they started. But you're right.
Nobody's
I did hear
owned
a
a tap room
rumor
here.
a while back that Grand Canyon was going to try to open here in the valley. That was several years ago, and obviously hasn't happened. I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah.
But,
so we gotta,
right.
I don't know what we gotta do to get like Dark Sky or Mother Road or one of these guys
Flagstaff breweries have just dug into Route 66 and planted themselves.
We need you down here. Actually, no. I mean, I will say it does given a good, as if you needed more reasons to head up north in the summer, especially, but gives you a good reason to head up north. For
right. I
good
can
beer.
imagine the same sort of feel that walking into Beaver Street, like in downtown Scottsdale, would be. It wouldn't be the same. You go into the one in Flagstaff, and it's like, authentic kind of mountain town kind of place.
I spent New Year's in Flagstaff a few years ago, and they do a pine cone drop.
Yeah.
Instead of a ball drop like they do in New York, they do a pine cone drop. And we caught the early one because we figured we'd go to bed early, because who wants to stay up until midnight?
Yeah.
But then after the early one, which I think was at like 9, we went over to Dark Sky to have like one more beer. And before we knew it was midnight. We went back and saw the midnight pine cone drop, because
there you
go.
Just
get there's such an energy in those breweries in Flagstaff, that like mountain town brewery energy, that like you get caught up in that, and before you know it, you're 6 beers deep. You've been there for 4 hours, and you're just having a good time. So.
And they're all but 2 you could walk.
Oh yeah.
And you can walk between the 6 of them there. Wanderlust is a couple miles east, and then the Grand Canyon restaurant you have to drive to that one.
But Dark Sky, Flagstaff Brewing, Lumberyard, Historic, and Mother Road,
and Beaver Street.
Beaver Street are all, within like a 5-minute walk from each other.
Oh, so. Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, cool. Well,
we could probably talk about Mother Road and Flagstaff breweries for
sure.
another hour, 2 hours. Unfortunately, we can't be sitting here and drinking all these beers here. What we do get the benefit of being able to do these while we work, so that is the great thing about running the Arizona Craft Beer Festival and Awards, is that we get to do this. And we hope that you enjoy these videos and our beer reviews, and talking about these breweries that we know a lot about, and these beers that some of them we know a lot about. Some of them we're just tasting for the first time. Because there's so much to explore in Arizona. There's literally hundreds of beers, and you couldn't go through all of them in like a decade, probably. Well, maybe you could, but
all that to be said, we hope you'll join us at our Arizona Craft Beer Awards and Festival on October 22nd. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, ACBA Fest, and check out our website at azcraftbeer.com. And we'll see you at the next video.